have thought. Not me. Not me. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we're going on a journey through a lot of wormholes all over the place with very flashy lights and singing and dancing and musicals and spangly bangles. That's right. We watched the Marvels.
So air horn. I don't know why I'm doing that. I've got a sound effect for that, so cue the sound effect. But yeah, the Marvels. So you've got Brie Larson coming back as Captain Marvel, to the dismay of what seems to be a majority of MCU fans. She got a lot of hate from some of the press tours that she did with the other Avengers, so people just kind of dislike her. I don't get it. I really, I get it. Let me step back a little bit. I get it, but I think it's unfair hate that Brie Larson gets. But I want to ask you, kind of the origin is what we normally talk about for a lot of the movies, is what did you think of the first Captain Marvel, and what did you think of Brie Larson? And going into this one, what were you looking forward to?
So I enjoyed the first Captain Marvel. I think in writing that movie, doesn't matter who the character was. It didn't have to be Captain Marvel. It could have been anybody, but they played on so many tropes that we already know, right? Like they grabbed the Top Gun theme. They grabbed so many 80s movies that we've seen, right? And just Men in Black a little bit, and pulled so many pieces together in that movie. It just worked for me. I enjoyed it. Samuel L. Jackson's amazing in it. I thought Brie Larson was really good. I enjoy snarky Brie Larson. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but I enjoy a little tood. I don't need like, no offense, Steve Rogers. I don't need like spangly superheroes. I like the tood. I like the whole thing about it. Jude Law carried the baddie in that one, but it was a flip baddie. Like, we didn't even understand. So many cool technology pieces and brought more information on the Kree that we didn't get in Guardians. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Introduced Skrulls too. Like, so many cool things in that movie. I was a big fan of it. What about you?
I liked it. I don't know if I liked it as much as you. I left it with a little bit of mixed thoughts as to, do I really like this movie, or is it just because I don't know a lot about Captain Marvel? And Brie Larson overall, I didn't really understand the hate. Like, everyone thought that she's like, oh my God, you might as well should have gotten like an acting dummy to play that, because Brie Larson had no personality. I totally disagree with that, because I thought she played it as she should have, someone who's lost her identity. And so she does have a little bit of attitude, and a little bit of kind of Stonewall defenses, like I had no problem with that, because she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know how she got there. So naturally, you're a little bit of skeptical as to let your guard down and show your true personality, especially if you don't know who you are. So sorry, don't really get the hate on Brie Larson in that movie. I thought the movie was good. I loved the 90s themes. Like, that's one of the things for nostalgia. Definitely hit the right chord with me. I love the music that they were playing in there, which just happens to be like the same music that they play for all 90s movies now. So you kind of hear the same stuff over again. But yeah, I was fine with it. I had a good time. I've watched it multiple times since then. And yeah, I think going into this, I was interested to see how they were going to be able to juggle the three leads with Iman Vellani, Tiana Paris, and Brie Larson. I was curious as to see how they were going to make this work, because at face value, you're going to think that this is just feminism at its finest, just Disney cramming down like a whole bunch of just princess and strong female characters like down our throats. And we'll talk a little bit about the princess aspect of it a little bit later. But yeah, I thought that was going to be a challenge. Did you think the same thing with the three people? And you didn't even watch Miss Marvel, if correct me if I'm wrong, right?
I was not interested in Miss Marvel at all. Have not watched it. Literally saw the Marvels a couple hours ago. Gosh, like seven. It's been a minute, but yeah, have not watched Miss Marvel, but there was so much no hype going into this, no press tours because of the strike, and just nothing coming our way that I was just not. I was like, I'm gonna see it. I hope it's good. At least Samuel L. Jackson will be in it. Like we'll get something from it. And I was like pleasantly surprised in a way. Like I didn't find any issues with it. Um, I don't have a problem with a full female cast. Like that's fine. I think that Marvel needs to start making movies that aren't just for me, like a 40-year-old white guy. Like, come on, let's get it all over the place and bring more fans in, because the movies and the thematic pieces need to look more like all of the cons look now, with everybody around.
I want you to hold on to that thought of, who the movie is for, because that was something I was really contemplating as I'm watching this movie. And I want to make sure that we can hit all the major points of everything, but who it's for and who the audience is. And really, do you believe in making movies for a particular audience? And do you believe in the concept of like, okay, I went to go see a movie, it just wasn't for me? Or is that just more ignorance from a viewer's perspective?
No, I don't think it's ignorance at all. I don't think all art is for everybody, nor should it be. I think there are a ton of films that are not for me. I've watched a lot of them, and there are things that are for me that I rewatch constantly, that I get an emotional reaction from myself for, that put me in a good mood, that I identify with characters and plots, and there's things that I just identify with. And then there's other movies that not as much, right? And that's okay. Art's not supposed to be perfect. It's not supposed to be all encompassing. I think that's some of the things that's wrong with movies now, like with Hollywood now and with Marvel in general, is they're trying to, or they were trying to run to all audiences, right? And get just mass appeal. Art doesn't work like that. And I would rather superhero movies get better from an artistic and just a generalized quality perspective than just have constant mass appeal, not too much thought process. It's okay to not like a movie. I still thought the plot devices moved things across. I thought that there were, really cool elements to this that got me more interested in some of the things. I actually want to watch Miss Marvel now, because I thought the character was charming and the family aspect was awesome, right? It was like same
It
reason I
was, yeah.
enjoyed Blue Beetle. The family aspect was great. But yeah, I absolutely, to circle back at a really big circle to your question, if art is for everybody, I think it lacks depth.
Did you go into this movie thinking or wanting to like it? Or were you just like, oh man, Marvel and DC are just on a run right now where it's not a good one. I guess we're going to go see this for the podcast. It's
I would
just,
say I had one of those on each shoulder. If you looked at the expectation-o-meter, it wasn't at the level of DC in the red, right? But it was a little. It was getting closer, right? It was more Eternals than Spider-Verse, right? But I got led in with some good quality trailers. The Aquaman trailer looked awesome. Now that I mentioned DC, but got a few things and was in a good headspace. Just wanted to see a movie. The fact that there was like one person in my theater, there were three, two of them left. I don't know why, but yeah, the theater was empty. Given I went to a 115, because I'm a matinee guy now. Apparently, it's just when I could go see it. But yeah, there was one guy in my theater, so I didn't have the hype of the crowd. Though the one guy decided to sit in my row, which was super weird.
oh,
Whole
did you
theater,
go?
not like a
You didn't
small
go in the
theater.
front row either.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I took K row. I was like, it's empty. No seats are sold to this. I'm just sitting where Danny would want me to sit, in the middle, looking over my kingdom of theater.
This movie, I was thinking, I think it's gonna suck. I wanted it to be good. I don't want any movies to be bad, but it's just like, I just didn't know how they were gonna make it work. I was just super curious because I think the pressure is getting to Brie Larson, and she's just getting tired of fanboys or even maybe just Marvel haters just talking shit about her and that character. I don't know if you've seen the interview with her before where she was saying like, I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. Do people want me to do this? She's like super passive aggressive about everything. And it was like she's just had enough. So I
Well,
was
when you
wondering if
watch
that,
Tom Holland get destroyed for leaking stuff and being excited about his craft and bringing that level of exuberance, I would too. I, I'd be like Marshawn Lynch at the Super Bowl. I'm here because I don't want to get fined. I'm
let's
here
all be
because I don't
honest
want to get
though.
fined.
Let's be honest. Tom Holland didn't really spoil anything in some of those things were obviously like spoilers on purpose. Like when
When he
he's
was like,
reading,
"Oh, we all disappear," like that, like when they sent
well,
Benedict Cumberbatch just to put his hand over his mouth,
sure,
like watch
sure.
some of those where these people are like, "Ah, Tom."
Yeah, but
It's
no one gave him shit for that and hated him.
what I'm saying is there was so much heat on that. If I'm Brie and I don't want, I'm like not an original character. I'm not Downey. I'm not hanging around. Like I'm not entrenched. Like I don't want to step on those toes. Holland had a long deal. I don't know what hers is for. I don't know if they signed her month to month or what. Right? Like there is that double standard in Hollywood for male and female leads. She's an Oscar winner, only one in Marvel. Well, other than RDJ. But yeah, like I don't know. I don't know who's what I don't know what eggshells she's walking on. So I give her the benefit of the doubt.
I
Right.
don't think she's walking on eggshells. I think she's just tired of people giving her shit. There's no eggshells that she needs to walk on. She's a very strong personality, and I don't think she's held back anything in regards to, her personal feelings on how things are. She lets it fly, and I think that's what people don't like. I can sort of understand it to where if you're gonna like really establish yourself as like I'm the strongest there is, and I'm the best Avenger, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of peacocking there, or peacocking if you want to pronounce it correctly. But it's it's a gamble having her as that strong female lead with people that just despise her because she's a strong female. It's like, this is going to be a tall order, and I don't know if this is going to work or translate. I think we all know for sure that it hasn't translated to box office numbers, which is a shame because the movie itself has an entertainment value to it.
Didn't the
And
first one like absolutely murder?
like over a billion, I think. I want to say over a billion.
Like, yeah,
So,
I don't understand why this one has had no buzz about it when the last movie was so good. And I
I mean,
think,
the
well,
strike,
the
big,
strike,
big thing.
yeah. And I don't know that Marvel, I think that COVID created this drag on Marvel where their plan got totally jacked. And it just it's chaotic right now. It's chaotic.
Yeah, agreed. But I'll go back to what I said before is that I just don't think that people want to see, and I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying that this historically, as things have been going along, it seems like in recent times, people don't want to go see a female led movie, or even worse, a female led movie with minorities in it. And it's just like, I get the whole
So
marketing and diversity thing, but I really think that's legit. I mean, if you take a look at the track record of some of the movies and the movies that get hate, who's the hate directed towards? It's usually directed towards women or minority characters. Is the reason why it sucks. That's where
that's
it falls
because
into at the fault.
that's because there's a bunch of salty white like keyboard warriors in their mom's basement generating that hate. I completely disagree with that premise. And I have one word for you about female led movies. Barbie just came out. I believe it did $1 billion.
Yeah.
Female writer, female director, female lead, and
Yeah.
many minority female characters all over the place. And weird Barbie.
Sure. I mean, I think that's the exception to the rule, right? I mean, you have like an iconic brand like Barbie, that is going to be something that's going to be out there. But you take a look at a bunch of other movies, even like an Oscar winner, like Everything Everywhere at All at Once. How many people actually talked shit about that movie? And it was usually just all garbage. I don't even think they even saw the movie, to be honest.
That movie just didn't have enough behind it from a marketing perspective. It was amazing. And screw everybody. They won their Oscar. And yeah. I think this movie, I think we're looking at the wrong box office right now. I think we're worried about the US box office. You said something earlier about who this movie's for. I personally think this movie is aimed at the Asian market.
Oh, sure. I mean, most movies are coming from.
I think this is the first movie that I can look at and say they really want to capture the Indian audience. Like they want India to love this. And I don't have a problem with it. I found parts of this movie that overlapped in Bollywood like wonderful, and like just different, and I liked it. But this is a movie that is very much directed towards not us, and I think that's great. And I think Marvel should do that because it's going to get those folks that wouldn't necessarily see a Marvel movie maybe more interested to watch more and just put more behind it.
When it comes to the movie itself, why don't you break us off with your version of the plot?
I think that the plot for this movie is Powers connected somebody who did not want to be connected with anybody because she was sad about the decisions that she had to make that she thought were for the greater good. And in the end, she found a tripod. And that's what I think this whole movie is. I don't think it's a three-headed lead. I think it's a tripod.
I'll go with three-headed lead because I'm sure they don't want to be referred to as a tripod. I don't know where you get that from, but
I would say that there's BDE all across this lead.
Oh my god!
Actually, Brie Larson. Brie Larson carries some big BDE.
What is that again?
Big Danvers energy, baby.
I think with this movie, what everyone has always been complaining about is that Marvel needs to do something different. Right. I think that's been a pretty good consensus. Is like we're seeing the same old Marvel things, big CGI battle in the third act, stale villains, blah, blah, blah. So this is pretty different, I would say. And I think it's different way, way, way to the extreme of I never thought that I would see dancing numbers in besides like, some of the little quips from WandaVision, but I didn't think I'd see like a full out song and dance number in a Marvel movie.
Dude, that was so I never thought I would see in a mainstream Marvel movie them capture some of the cinema tropes from Bollywood, from another country's top end cinema. Like I've seen the US steal a lot from like martial arts films from Japan, right? But to take like almost like a Bollywood scene with all the colors, all the robes and the dancing and like the big dancing and all of that and the singing, the whole thing. Talk about just awesome. Like
so you liked it. You liked that scene.
I didn't. So it wasn't for me, but I appreciated that it was there for those people that it was there for. And it didn't upset me about it, right? I just liked it. Oh, there's a planet where that's the thing. Okay, I'll buy it. And I thought it was hilarious. And then she talks to him, and she talks to her prince in their legal resolution marriage, and he's bilingual, so he doesn't have to sing all the time, and
I
nobody
did
can
not.
understand what they're saying. That's hilarious. You don't think
I
you didn't think
didn't
that was funny?
understand a single thing that they were singing about. I could not pick up the lyrics of what they were trying to say to each other.
It basically they were celebrating her, and she got there, and now she's here, and they brought other people, and they're here. It
Well,
was
no, no, no.
simply
I
like
heard all
yeah,
that. I'm saying like the dance between those two. I have no idea what was said. Like just completely. I think I heard a why or why are you like glad to see
yeah.
you, but
Mhm.
something like that. But no clue as to what they physically said between
Man,
each
looks
other,
like you need
and
a
then it just
rewatch, baby.
stopped.
Looks like you need a rewatch.
Is this too different for people? Are they going to bitch and moan about like, wait a second, why the hell was this song and dance number in here? I don't want to see this. Like,
If
I
you
feel like
remember,
that is a big problem with if Marvel gives you what you've been asking for and then you bitch about that, the problem isn't with Marvel. It's the problem with the audience and the unrealistic expectations of what the movies are supposed to be.
I agree 100% with that statement. I think the problems with the audience on most of the bitching. If you remember when we got previews for Ragnarok, everybody's like, why are they making Thor a joke? Thor's not a joke. It's supposed to be serious. Why is he making jokey? And Ragnarok's amazing. When they gave Taika the reins after Thor 2, which is only good because you know what's going on that you can't see. If you're just watching Dark World for Dark World, it's not good. But because now it's tied into Endgame so tightly, and you know where things come and go, and then Jane becomes Thor afterwards. Talk about retconning a movie into relevance. But I really think that when Marvel fans get something that they just don't think is the right thing, they complain. And then in hindsight, they're like, actually, this was pretty good. I'm waiting for that to happen with the Eternals. It's not happening for me, but maybe it'll happen. Maybe someday. But I think this movie is a great example of that, of opening it up to just more. And, you see what's what.
See, I thought the exactly what you're saying about this movie is exactly what I think about Eternals. Is you were talking about earlier is that it just needs to be a good movie from a cinematic perspective and all that. Like that's exactly what that movie was. It was visually stunning. It had an intricate plot and a little bit more depth and mystery and intrigue as to what was actually going on with these people. It could have been if Marvel was stripped from that title, it would have been a pretty decent movie overall. But because Marvel was attached to it, it's like, wait a second, I don't care about these characters. And, you strongly dislike that movie. I thought it was okay after I left. I thought it was good. But at the same time, it was like, yeah, it was different. But I watched it a couple times since originally seeing it. And I was like, wow, this actually does have really good elements of a good movie. It just because Marvel is this grand concept of things, it's like, oh, but it's not like Endgame, or it's not like, whatever movie that you want to
Yeah.
pick. So that's the way I feel about Eternals, and like how you feel about this movie. So with this, the difference of everything, right? I will say that I love the fact that they looped in the Miss Marvel animation style thing as she was kind of going over her like superhero montage of everything. That's the same exact animation that was used in the show, which I thought was super clever. I was like, yes, they're using elements from the show. I'm so glad that they're doing that because I like that show. And I think it was really a good representation as to what Kamala is like. I mean, she's this kid that has these outlandish dreams and hopes and wishes about everything. And she dreams in like comic book little panels. It's pretty awesome that they brought that animation. And yeah, what did you think about that? Did you like that little animation style for
I
her
like
part?
cartoons. I don't care. It was fine. It didn't disrupt anything. It didn't like turn me off from any perspective. So yeah, no problems with it. And
Okay.
yeah, hearing you say that, it's about time they take something from a show and put it in a fucking movie, because I want stuff from Winter Soldier and Loki, and I want all that to come to movies. I mean, they grabbed multiple things into this, right? A little Kate Bishop spoiler, or no, that wasn't a spoiler, you know. Well, probably a spoiler.
Well, I
Everything's a
mean,
spoiler here. We
yeah.
just saw this movie; it just came out. If you're listening to this and you didn't know that things were going to get spoiled, you're done.
What are you doing? What are you doing listening to this podcast? You should listen to more of them.
Yeah, or just download them all.
With that difference in the animation style and just a little bit of TV show flair, what about the difference in how Brie Larson acted in this movie? Because it's a complete 180 from her character in Captain Marvel, along with even Infinity War and Endgame.
I have not watched Captain Marvel in a minute, and I don't know. I mean, it was Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I think that there was a lot going on with her, and I think that that was evident by how it opened with her using a torture device to try and get through her own head, and where things went when they did their little triple mind meldy situation. Right? I mean, ladies got a lot of her mind, and she's alone a lot. She's created her own quarantine and going through, you know, I think some of the mental load that everybody went through during COVID, right? But she's doing it in space by herself. She does a few things and then moves forward. And she's dealing with a lot of guilt. I mean, look how angry she is at her new nickname, because she thought she was doing something right and she ruined a whole planet's like thoughts of her, right? She wanted to be a hero and she's vilified.
As I was going through the movie, it seemed like, wow, she took everyone's comments to heart about how she was playing Carol Danvers super cold. And now she is like this uber sensitive mom figure in this entire thing. Like, I thought that was a little bit inconsistent. And I get it, character growth and, the melting of the Ice Queen that was Captain Marvel in the first movie. I get that. She knows who she is now, or at least has a better idea of who she is now. Would that cause that type of change in personality that quick? I have the same issue, with Han Solo in Solo in comparison to like how he is in the original trilogy. So, any thoughts on that?
I just think that, this character's aged what? How many years since Captain Marvel? It went through the blip, went through all of that stuff, watched her best friend die while while Lieutenant Trouble or whatever got blipped. Like, she's been through some trauma. It hasn't just been space battles, it's been all of the personal stuff, and she hasn't dealt with it in a way where she's been able to revisit it until now. So yeah, it's hard.
I mean,
She also has pushed people away. She's done the no teams thing. Like, normally when you've got support, you can work your way through that kind of trauma and that kind of anxiety and depression. But this is somebody that's real, like a real person, not just like, I'm Captain America, I don't get sad. I got a shield.
I don't know if it's been that long. I mean, yeah, from Captain Marvel was in the 90s, but at the same time, she was just on Earth in Infinity or on Endgame. So it's just like, yeah, is it that? It's been a few years since that.
But she
I don't
didn't
know.
get like much diatribe in that movie. She showed up when the blip happened, or like she showed up and found Tony Stark after the blip, and then she was in deep space again. She had talked to Monica Rambeau, or no, wait, what's the mom's name?
Maria.
Maria Rambeau. Like, you got that flashback, which super sad flashback there. Like, what? So yeah, I think that's meant to just show how Carol's internalized a lot of sadness.
I
And it may
guess.
have softened her up a little bit, seeing and experiencing how her closed approach left other people to create distance as well.
I suppose. I think it was just like really, really quick turnaround. I can understand a soft spot for Monica. right? Because yep, that was little Lieutenant Trouble, but now she's a grown woman. But for Kamala, like, I don't know who the fuck you are, kid.
But
Like, okay, whatever.
remember, she was around for young Monica, who had the same exuberance towards her that Kamala does, just in a different way, right? Monica was all about Carol the pilot. Kamala is all about Carol the hero, but they're both all about her. And you can
Sure.
tell that that connection is something she feels because they get in the plane, which is the same plane that she used to take Monica into. Like you saw that in
Yeah.
the flashback. So I think that that's where that connection is just she's used to having a kid look up to her, and it's easier for her to talk to a child that's more impressionable and isn't going to look at the negative, as opposed to an adult who sees who she is and understands like the decisions she's made and been affected by them.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you are saying that she's been alone as much as she hasn't been around a kid since the 90s. So it's like,
Yeah, but kids are easy, man. They're just happy to see you and happy to be involved.
that has nothing to do with her as a character, though. Like that's the
Kids are
like
safe.
that's what I'm saying. If the last interaction that she had with Monica was when she was a kid back in the 90s, then I find it, like, yes, you got the soft spot for Monica, grown woman, blah blah blah, right? But Kamala, I don't know. I just feel like you will have a soft spot for certain children, like just like for your own kid, you will feel differently towards that kid compared to someone else's kid that you could be like, it was nice seeing you, but I don't care if I ever see you again.
Yeah,
Like I'm not your
that's
parent.
not
Go get ice
everybody.
cream from them.
That's you. That's not everybody.
That is Carol Danvers. That is for
I don't
sure.
know though. I think that you're assuming a lack of depth in that character when it doesn't exist.
It's not lack of depth. It's just lack of compassion for people that she doesn't know. If she's a lone wolf, she's out there on her own. Come on, like that easy of a click with a teenager, not just a kid, but a teenager. Who are the people that most adults hate the most? Teenagers.
But
We know
why,
because when we were in high school, adults hated teenagers.
but why? Why is she out there alone? She's out there alone because people are calling her like the Vindicator because she just kills everything. I don't know what they called her. Totally
Annihilator.
botched it. Yeah, the
Vindicator
Annihilator.
means she's vindicating things.
Yeah, no, she
So that's
vindicated herself by annihilating the Kree, right? And
yeah.
and she pulled the plug on something that she didn't realize was taking care of everything on the planet. And since her coming, she's just created all of this chaos. And she didn't mean to do that. She was doing something for herself. And one selfish decision is taking out a whole planet. She's dealing with that, bro. Heavy.
I don't know, man.
Heavy
That's
lies
just
the
some
crown.
delayed bullshit because that was 30 years ago.
Planets don't die overnight unless it's Star Wars. It takes some
You're
time.
Is that person going to hold a grudge for 30 years? I don't
Obviously,
probably.
she did. Obviously, they literally showed her in the movie getting some rocks dropped on her, and now she's got the hammer with the grudge trying to fuck her up. So, yes, she held a
Yeah.
grudge for that long.
Speaking of Dar Ben, talk about the worst name for a villain. Couldn't they just come up with a different name?
This villain doesn't do it for me.
This villain sucks. I don't get it
And I
at
think the
all.
villain, honestly, for me, the villain might be the problem with the movie because I don't know this person, never heard of them. I've seen their hammer in a different movie, in a different franchise movie, right? In Guardians, but I thought that hammer got destroyed. So why is it still there? And why doesn't she look like the other Kree who had the hammer? Like now Krees come in all kinds of variations, not just blue, right?
Yeah, I mean that
That
was always the case.
yeah, but I don't know. The powerful ones, like you'd think that they're from I don't know. That didn't jive for me, that there wasn't like a resemblance in like actions or
Hmm.
whatever. Like, she was
Okay.
trying to be diplomatic and such. Like it didn't jive for me. And again, like I understand the why for the character. Didn't make sense. Did not make sense to me. Why they would have chosen this character and not pulled a different villain for this. Like I don't get it. But maybe she was in the comics. It wasn't a big Captain Marvel reader. I'm still not a big Captain Marvel reader, but got it done for this. Like that all the main characters are women though, which is a positive in my opinion.
What was the point of her going after Captain Marvel now, 30 years later? Like they couldn't have done it before.
Because
Like
she
where the
finally found the spangly bangle.
I get yeah, I
She didn't have the
guess.
power. Now she's got the power.
But they
Before, not
wouldn't
so
have
much.
but they wouldn't have just tried to go after her anyways. Like I just don't get that. If you're really pissed off, like, oh man, I'm gonna wait for 30 years and hopefully I'll find some artifacts that'll, like level the
When they
playing
see how
field.
powerful she is, they know that they're going to get, they're not going to get vindicated. There will be no vindicating by them. They will simply get annihilated.
With some of the differences too. So we can both agree that the villain sucks. I saw that they were trying to do, the Thanos type of thing where, we're supposed to empathize with her and feel bad the fact that like her planet is essentially dying. But nah, not once do I feel bad.
Yeah,
Not once do I don't even think I saw any like Cree kids like, coughing or like saying I'm hungry or starving. Like I thought it was just adults. Did you see any Cree kids?
I don't think so.
I don't recall. So I'm just
Unless
like, well, you could have won me over if, like kids are running in the street like all hungry and, downtrodden. But no, you didn't even
downtrodden.
do that for me.
Wow. I've seen them before and they were bad guys. So I really don't care that their planet's going to go. Like, good. Let it go. That was the point, to just take them out.
The Skrulls, though, were you surprised that Valkyrie came back and basically was a safe haven for the Skrulls?
I like that now there's more Skrulls on New Asgard and there's just more Skrulls on Earth in general. Loved seeing Valkyrie. I told you in a preview, I thought I saw that. I thought I saw the bridge open up, and I was right. We both were right in our prediction areas, which we'll get to. But it sounds like Carol talked to her about something, or she was at least concerned. Valkyrie, the most empathetic of the Marvel characters that may eventually be Avengers.
Did you get any romantic vibes from them at all?
No,
No.
was I supposed to?
I caught like a little bit of because Valkyrie is I don't know if they really go into it, but like I'm assuming she's like pansexual. She'll just go after everything. She's just down for whatever. I don't know if that's 100% like confirmed. I don't think Marvel wants to even disclose anything like that openly. But yeah, I just like the kiss on the cheek just seems like, oh, maybe they had a thing from before. Because even for Brie Larson in the first Captain Marvel, they were talking about like uh, the undertones of I'm sorry, Maria and Carol. So they had the whole, getting girl wasted, doing karaoke, singing "Talk Dirty to Me" or whatever. I think that's what it was. But like, I feel like there was that dynamic there. So maybe they had a relationship. Um, but obviously Maria had a daughter too, so I don't know where that plays into things. But I think that was done on purpose just to be like, oh, maybe Captain Marvel is down for whatever, but then turns out she got legally married to a prince too. So I don't know. Not sure.
You know, I think that you're a little too focused on some girl on girl superhero action.
No, that's 100% like you did not see that at all. Like there's like you don't just superheroes like give each other high fives and like fist bumps after a battle. Like they gave each other like nice little kisses on the cheek. Like you don't see that happening with the
And
other
I feel
Avengers or
like
any other
Stanley and
superheroes.
Mallrats. Like your friend's a little too obsessed with superhero sex organs.
Dude, are you kidding me? Like seriously, that is something that is just that out there in the open on the screen and you don't pick that up.
You know what? I don't care. Like if they are, that's great. If not, whatever. It
That's
doesn't
but
drive the
that's your
plot for
response to
me.
everything is that you don't care. Are you observing the fact that that's a possibility?
I don't even. It didn't even come into my head.
Okay.
My brain didn't say, "Oh man, I wonder if they made out." Like, did
I
not go
do,
there.
I wasn't thinking that. I don't know why you're thinking that that's the case, but that is just a observation that is been stated on, a lot of things as to like the sexuality of all these characters because Valkyrie was supposed to be like the first gay character in Marvel, and I don't even think that she's necessarily gay. It's just she likes what she likes, and so that's where I was like, oh, maybe that's where the connection is on that. Maybe her and Captain Marvel had that relationship because how did they know each other from before? Just after the Battle of Thanos, they were just like, hey, you seem cool. Let's talk and hang out for a bit. Or would Carol just go boost up into space and go take care of space shit? It's just like it's those little nuances to where it's like you have to kind of come up with like a backstory for that stuff because otherwise it's just like, wait, why is Valkyrie there? Like, do they really know each other? Like, no, not really. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like another thing that didn't make sense for me is when they were talking about the nicknames for Monica, and someone said, I think Kamala said Vision, and she's like, "Oh, Vision." Carol said that, and she's like, "Oh, wait, no, never mind." It's like she didn't even know who Vision was,
That was a
and
joke.
nor, but yeah, I don't even think that she would even know the name. So it's like it's a poor joke because like, how would she know about Vision?
Maybe she found out after the fact. There were dossiers that Homegirl was reading. You never know.
I suppose. I suppose.
Just accept it as
There's.
a funny joke, man.
It wasn't funny though. That's the thing.
That
You
they
thought that was
wanted
funny?
to that they wanted to name Monica after the character whose death created the circumstance by which she got her powers wasn't funny.
Yeah, no, not really. No. If anything, it would just be like, why? Why would you say that? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Because it's funny.
I don't know, man. You've got this weird ass sense of humor to where it's like things that aren't funny are funny. So I
Dude,
don't
I must.
know.
Hey, listeners in the comments on socials, tell Dan it was funny.
Did you
Just
guys
tell
laugh when you heard that? Nah,
him.
nah. I don't think anyone did.
Man,
Uh, I will say with the difference of this movie and how I don't want to say unserious that it was, but the cats scene, probably the best scene out of the entire movie, but batshit crazy, right? Like
the
that was really funny to me.
the cat scene was so layered. I I was like, this might be one of the best non-action Marvel scenes in a movie. It's
It's
so layered. And it
well,
all
why don't you describe
happens.
those layers? Because
So they got the eggs, right? The eggs, and we're all thinking, I don't know about you. I'm just thinking, oh my God, is it aliens? Is it face huggers and all that? And it's just like, wait, no, it's little kitties. This is a threat, but no, it's not a threat. It's little kitties. And then they're like, well, the only way to do it, you got to go down in the kitty's belly. And then they play memories from cats.
yeah,
And they have the cats giving these people terrible memories and then herding cats into the thing. It's just so funny. It's like they brought Taika in for a day and said, let's do something here.
yeah.
And they just
That's the
got this
thing.
amazing cat scene that I would watch repetitively because it's so funny.
that's what I liked about that, is the fact that it was like right up the James Gunn and Taika alley right there. I think probably I would like to say it was probably so well done that you could have said that James Gunn did it, because I think like James Gunn, as much as I love Taika Waititi, but I think James Gunn is definitely more from the cinematic approach and just musical approach. He has just like this knack for doing things. And the director, I believe it's Nia DaCosta, she just nailed it and hit this one out of the park with this particular scene.
I
You have some musical aspect of it, you have the comedic and horrific aspect of things. So it's a good blend of how to make a movie scene different in a Marvel movie, and I think it worked.
I was actually, after the scene and after the end of the movie, disappointed that they didn't do more tie-ins musically throughout the film. You mentioned earlier the original Captain Marvel had awesome song hits all over the place, culminating in the fight scene on the space station with Hole and the Courtney Love song, and they're just going at it. That's what I'm saying. That movie had music everywhere in it. And this, I'm calling it the Bollywood scene, right? On the water planet was great. That was fine, but there was nothing anywhere else. Like,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
maybe
there
we're
was
just
Beastie
spoiled.
Boys.
Yeah, Carol was listening to one Beastie Boys song. Like, that was it. Like, maybe we're spoiled by James Gunn and all these Guardians movies, so we think space and we still want people to tie in music and stuff like that. But like, I'm coming off of watching some things that have good music. I'm coming off of Loki, right? That had this great orchestral music background to it. And this just it didn't have the music I needed, save that one scene, which I think I'll say this right here, right now, and you can agree or disagree. The Cats scene in the Marvels better than the CGI movie Cats.
Yeah, I think everyone can agree with that.
Like 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I was thinking, and I actually thought this in the movie. I was like, I wonder how pissed off Taylor Swift is that she was in a movie that was so shitty, and then they just take this song with a ridiculous premise, and this is going to be better than that movie. So yeah, absolutely, I thought that.
Oh, so it was so good. It literally had me like, I'm excited for my wife to see this movie, for to see if she gets the reference, and that, like, those are the things I love about some of the Marvel movies, is some of the more modern ones, not the non like core movies, because the core movies are all orchestral and you can't add popular. I mean, Iron Man you can, but like, you can't add popular music to Captain America. You can't add it to Thor until Ragnarok.
They did add popular music in Captain America. So Winter Soldier, they had some stuff. Marvin Gaye was in there. They had some
Yeah,
popular
but it
music in
it
there.
was more tertiary. It wasn't like the meat and the support of the fight or the
Sure, I
major
get it.
scene, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. It wasn't as big of a tie-in as this was, or as some of those other movies we've seen. But I really enjoyed it.
I don't think there was another scene like that that was just silly that I enjoyed as much, with the exception of the Thor Love and Thunder, when Thor enchants the kids, like basically garbage things that they were picking up as
Yeah,
weapons. I thought that was pretty sweet. And
yeah.
it was just a really good use of November Rain, which I don't even really like that song, but I like that song now just because of that scene. I don't know. Which one did you like better, that or the Cats one?
The cats for sure.
Yeah.
And leading up to the cats thing, I was sad that they didn't do more with the eggs. Like, there could have been
That
an
was just
alien reference.
out of nowhere.
My guess is some of it got cut, but like, that just, it screamed alien, didn't it? Like, there's
Yeah.
eggs showing up all over the ship. What's going to come out of the, and only because I've seen that movie, or I know that that's how it all starts with the face huggers and stuff. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, oh man, they're not talking about these eggs, but this could be a big
Yeah.
deal.
I wish
And
they would have just explained it just a tad bit
just,
more.
or
Like
yeah,
Goose is acting really weird, like just something
yeah.
that would indicate that
Goose
Goose
is
was pregnant,
hiding. Where's
right?
Goose?
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
what that cat's deal is. It's like
Mm.
where's she going? Where's she going?
Where's she
I never
go?
know where she's
What's
going.
she doing in there? I don't know what she's doing in there. But yeah,
Oh
no,
my
that
god.
was and the scene directly after with Fury going down with the family and the praying joke got me. Are you praying? Don't stop. I mean,
Yeah.
anything will help. Like that
I
just I loved it.
My
I,
favorite part about the movie was the family dynamic.
yeah.
Like I think that without that, I probably would have been like pretty disappointed in the movie because I felt like that was a big positive in the Miss Marvel TV show. And I'm glad that they were able to weave that in because that family just like is awesome. Like it gives the true dynamic of that uh ethnic background family into where it's like, oh, yep, that's how they would talk to their kids, or that's how they would talk to their parents. And with that, it was just kind of nice to see that, oh, cool, that show hasn't just, like, oh, the TV show, if you want to check out more about them, do that. Like, this makes you want to watch more of that family dynamic in the TV show if you haven't seen it already, in my
I
opinion.
will 100% attest to that. That I literally was I had an hour last night that I just turned on something random on TV, and I turned on Disney Plus, and I'm like, should I watch a couple episodes of this? No, I'll watch Behind the Attraction. There's new episodes of that, and I got on the treadmill and watched Behind the Attraction instead of Miss Marvel, and now I'm like, you know what? I will watch that. I will work that in at some point. I'm interested simply because that family and that dynamic, to your point, it was excellent. And I think that there needs to be more of that. Like that's the cross appeal of this movie is it's more appealing to families and people that understand that dynamic. It's not just for hardcore Marvel fans. You got your movies, you got your Infinity Saga. Now we're going more broad spectrum. I see what they're doing. Kind of okay with it.
Do you like the action in this movie and like the CGI?
You know what I'm sad about? I'm sad that they didn't have one attack that used all their powers at the same time. Like something like, Marvel's powers activate or something, like a super beam or some
Like
shit.
like if they just had a tripod of powers,
That's
just
what
like
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like there wasn't one cohesive thing that they could have done to take out the baddie. And they could have just found out that, oh man, we didn't know this, but if we really work together, we can defeat anything. But they didn't do that. They all kicked and punched and one made steps for the other ones. Like
what
that was
happened
it.
to what happened to Darben? Did she die?
It
I don't
looked like
remember.
she like the it seemed that the same thing that happened to the former Kree leader because of the
Oh, yeah, she blew up. Okay, she got
yeah,
consumed by the energy, right?
yes,
I
that I
com
think is what happened.
So she is so inconsequential in my opinion that like I didn't
Yeah,
even know what happened to her. Like it didn't matter.
yeah.
Like I completely forgot that the stone, or not the stone, but the gauntlets ate her up from all the power and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That scene, I thought for sure they were gonna try and like almost Doctor Strange it to where you were gonna see like people, like their silhouettes of people in other universes.
The I didn't realize this until after, but the geodescent shapes were very reminiscent of that Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was assuming, that like, oh shit, this is where Rogue is going to come into play. Like I thought something was happening right then, right there. But no, nothing. She's just,
Erroneous.
yeah, didn't matter. Didn't matter. But I was a little bit surprised, and I'm glad that they did like that bold move of like, yep, sorry, not a happy ending for everyone. She doesn't die, but they're also not together. So see you later, Monica.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Tiana Paris, I like her from everything that she's done from WandaVision into this, and I really like her hesitancy and kind of uneasiness to accept like this hero role, right? Like she doesn't know how to fly, but she goes ahead and does it anyway, and she doesn't want a code name. But I like that dynamic of her, whereas Kamala is just like this super geeked. I'm ready to be an adventurer right now, and I love Captain Marvel, so like we're gonna be twinsies, we're gonna do everything, we're gonna be best friends. I like that, and then Carol is just kind of there to even it all out. It's like, yes, I'll be your friend, and I'll be your friend as well too. You know, it's just I don't know how else they could have done that any better, but I'm glad that it was those three individuals in
Mhm.
particular.
I like her as an actress. Like I'd want to see her in more things. Um, she's been acting for a while, but I think she needs some more mainstream roles. I think that she's really good. I'm a fan.
Did you like the superhero costumes?
Yeah, like how many versions of the Captain Marvel suit are we gonna get that's still like the Kree suit in a different color way, right? Like that's what we seem to get. Um, Ms. Marvel seemed, comic-ish accurate, which I'm fine with. And I don't have any vision of what not Vision's costume should look like. So I didn't hate it.
So one thing I didn't understand is that there's a point in the movie where they're switching spots with each other, and Kamala had her superhero outfit on, and then she's flying from the sky, like she's dropping and falling from the sky, and she's wearing regular clothing. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Why? Well, I need to know why. Where did her superhero outfit go? And why is she just wearing regular clothes? Like that is a big issue for me because I understand that, they were swapping places. They definitely didn't swap clothes. Just want to know why she was falling out of the sky
Yeah,
with the regular clothes.
my guess is there was some kind of cut there that they had to take out of it. Like she ended up back home, she changed, and then
In the middle of a fight.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It was weird. That was weird. I think there was a lot of not issues, but a lot of editing that happened in this, and they left a lot on the cutting room floor. Because
Yeah,
apparently that when they went to, gosh, what was that water planet? Atalan or Atlan, something
yeah,
like Atlantis. But the prince, who's a very, I think he's like the most famous South Korean actor, but he supposedly shot for 2 months, and he was in that movie for like two scenes,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, right? Like the battle scene and then the little dancing scene.
yeah.
That's it. So 2 months for that? I don't know, man. Like there must have
Well,
been something else that was just
this
left on the floor.
movie, this movie was a tight hour and a half, like little over. Like what was it?
Like
106 minutes.
hour 45 or something like that. But
Yeah, but that's that for a Marvel movie is short.
yeah, it's the shortest to date, I believe.
Yeah. And I really didn't have a problem with it. But also like that could have been the effect of some of the movies and things that got released before it. Because most of this was filmed pre-COVID, right?
I don't recall for certain.
I
Not
would
sure.
guess there's a mix. But it could have been shot for longer, and then with them having to push it back so many times, they could have said, "Listen, we need to make this a tight. We need to get it. We need to just make it happen." Especially where they released it for Thanksgiving weekend, like the weekend before. I don't know. I like I said, I think it's just it's a result of over analysis and them being scared of putting something out there that I think has a lot more mainstream appeal than your normal Marvel movie. But people don't know that because I don't think they showed half of the scenes in the trailer that would show that this has mainstream appeal.
I think with this movie, the reason why it has mainstream appeal is because I think it's more of like a happy-go-lucky romp, right? Like there's really no sad downer parts of this movie. It's just like, okay, let's just keep going. A little bit of bonding time, some serious dialogue, but nothing too serious. Funny stuff, comedic effects, action scenes. Like it's hit after hit with this movie. I thought the pacing was pretty good, and the one thing I was a little bit concerned with is that like is this just rushing this movie? Like, are we really just did we need to go to that planet to see that happen? All those people are going to die on that planet. Did we need to see that happen? Could we have done something to alter the formula or outline of the movie to where it'll seem tighter, but not like some stuff kind of just shoehorned in just to have a little bit more CGI and upping the stakes?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't have a good answer to that because I think there could be more exposition, but I also think at 2.5 hours, this movie's a clunker.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that there's one amazing scene in this movie. We both know what it is, and let's get there and let's enjoy the kiddies.
How do you think this sets up the rest of the universe? I mean, you've got Carol and Kamala. It's seemingly like they're in action and everything, and Kamala's recruiting. So you see Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld, come in for a little cameo towards the end of the movie. It's not a post-credit scene; it's at the end of the movie,
Yeah.
but she does the whole Nick Fury thing, which is kind of sweet. So, where do you think that leads to?
Well,
And is anything going to happen anytime soon?
she also mentioned that Ant-Man has a daughter. So they could spin that off into a show. I think that would be more of a TV show than taking it somewhere else. It could be like a Young Avengers kind of thing.
Do you want it to be a TV show or should it be a movie?
I don't know. It depends on where the appeal is and who they can get to watch it.
Disney is really revamping and rethinking their entire slate. So it's a little iffy right now.
I think you've got to remember that Disney used to hit many different demographics with their content, right? You had the Disney Channel for 8 and under. You had Disney XD for, or at first the Disney Channel had different time slots for different ages. Then they had a whole different channels for different ages. So you had like a 9 to 13 channel that kids would watch after school and like the cable channels just for different age groups, right? And they could own that. That's where shows like Lizzie McGuire and Hannah Montana and Wizards of Waverly Place and all those things like that were giants in the early 2000s and late 90s came from. They don't have that right now with Disney Plus. Like they're trying, but they don't have a Marvel version of that that's not animated. So to bring Marvel to that audience could be pretty successful. If you look at what Star Wars has done, the Ahsoka character was part of that aim for Star Wars, right? It came in a cartoon, right? In Clone Wars, which was, under high school age, above 8. Like that was the demographic for that, and old Star Wars men that liked it. But same thing with Rebels. That was a Disney XD show, which was their teen network. So maybe they're emulating that and saying, okay, we can do some live action and bring these female characters and bring more people into Marvel. I would guess the demographic of people that go to Marvel movies, I don't know. It could just be me. Most of them are men or identify as men, right? A majority. And they bring their wives and girlfriends, and some get involved, but some don't. But if you can give them that as something to be aspirational with these superheroes and show them that, hey, all the superheroes aren't just men anymore. They expand their market. And I think that's what Disney's trying to do. They're trying to change the market they have and get away from the cable model and really enter streaming and own streaming, because the cable model's dying and Disney realizes it. They're trying to shed as much as they can. They're trying to shed, they might sell off ESPN, and really focus on that and streaming from a content perspective. I a while back I read the Bob Iger book and found it really interesting because he came from ABC before he took over Disney, and talking about all these different demographics and really looking at what media used to be versus what media is now. It's you talk about Disney and their IP and where they're going. We don't know where the future is. I mean, hell, I forget what cable provider it was that they took all their channels off of because they wouldn't sign a contract. They basically said, just sign up for Disney on streaming and stream it. Cancel your cable if you want just Disney stuff. You can have Hulu and Disney. You sign up for that. It's cheaper than your cable. So they're really trying to corner the market on the bundles that they're putting out there, and they need content for that. Netflix finally is stepping up their content so people hold Netflix. They're not just canceling it. I think it's really interesting. I really do. Like this is the part of the podcast where we go very like off topic and real world, and we're like, it's really interesting to see the economic impact of this to the final products. But that's how I feel about it. I really, to answer your question, like that they're exploring different options and different layers for different demographics.
So back to my question, and if you could answer this, please. Where do you think that's going for the MCU?
Could be a show. Could be where Falcon and the Winter Soldier goes. Nowhere. Who knows?
I wonder if they're gonna put their eggs in a basket where it's like, yeah, we'll do a Young Avengers thing or tie into something. Who knows? Maybe the Young Avengers will be the ones that'll have to go on like a multiverse heist of getting different Avengers from different timelines and realities and all that stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Like all of them get wiped out, and then it's up to the Young Avengers
that would be cool.
Get a new team. And so then they start just apple picking. Can you imagine like Kamala just being super, super excited? Like, I get to pick my own team. And then she just goes to like all these different realities. And she's just this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid that's just like having fun. Like, yeah, the world's going to end if we don't do this. But I think this will be really cool if you want to join the team.
That doesn't sound awesome to you?
No, that's what I'm saying. It would be cool to see that.
Yeah.
But I don't know where else that's...
I thought we just saw that movie in the new Doctor Strange. Like, I thought we saw that and we really liked it. Let's see more of it.
We didn't... You said you didn't like Doctor Strange, right?
I wanted it to be more than it was.
Yeah. You wanted to see an actual multiverse as opposed to a
madness,
a duo-verse.
I didn't want to see a music note battle.
But that's once again, that's the different thing that they did, and I thought it was super creative. Totally a Sam Raimi thing to do. But I personally was like, well, that's different. I'm liking the originality. But with this movie, I thought they played it very safe, and which isn't a bad thing. It was entertaining overall. I just am kind of curious as to how things will unfold from here on out, because are the Kree okay now? They've got a sun, they've got air, and then they stole some fucking water from that planet, and now everything's good. So Captain Marvel is no longer the Annihilator; she's the Democrat. Is that what's going on?
She annihilated their leader, so now is she the queen in two planets?
Right. Like, it's okay, guys. I got you some water, some sunlight, and some. Actually, I didn't get that. The person that I killed got that for you, but now you're okay. You're fine. I don't get it. I don't know where that's supposed to be, but I think I do want to talk about the end credit scene. What are your thoughts on that, and walk us through as to what you were thinking?
I loved it. I was like, oh, I went into this movie like they're not gonna do anything multiversal. This isn't gonna fit into the multiverse thing. Like, and they're just gonna fuck it up. They're gonna do a non-multiverse movie now. After everything else has touched multiverse, right? From Ant-Man to Doctor Strange to Spider, all of these big Marvel movies have had some level of multiverse to them because that's the theme. And before the after credits, I was like, great, they didn't do it. And she's in a different reality, but yeah, no, I didn't think they were going to go back to her per se, but then they did, and I was all about it. And then it was her mom, and I was like, oh, that's so good. And then it really wasn't her mom because that mom didn't have anything but the bangles from Ms. Marvel. And I was like, oh, we're going a different way. I like this. And then I get my all-time favorite. You wouldn't think he was in an X-Men movie character, Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I love some Fraser Beast. And I was just like, oh shit. Yes. Yes on all counts.
Kelsey Grammer thinks it's 30 years ago because he's doing Frasier again. He's doing X-Men appearances as
You know,
Beast. So
I love a lot of Kelsey Grammer's work. I love Kelsey Grammer's daughter's work in Rick and Morty. So I'm all about it.
yeah, it was really cool to see Beast very comic accurate, right? And I'm glad they didn't go with like Kitty Cat Beast. I don't know if you've read the stretch of comics where Beast mutated into like feline type features for himself, but that was never my thing. I always liked seeing the traditional blue Beast and all the fur and stuff hanging upside down and shit. That was one thing I wish they would have done, is that he was hanging upside down. Yeah, oh, perfect. Freaking perfect. Because what happened in the X-Men cartoon when Jubilee first saw Beast? Dude was walking around the ceiling upside down and she got freaked the fuck out. That's how it should have been. That's what the reveal should have been. Is that.
Stop trying to perfect greatness. It was good. It was great. It was a great after credit scene.
No, you got it right the first time. It was good. It's not great. It could have been better.
I really think that there were so many levels to that small scene that it was just so good. I thought it was so good.
You hear that Binary is what Maria's name is, that her code name in that, which is if I'm not mistaken, Captain Marvel also went by Binary, but I think that was just her powers that was called Binary. I don't know if that was like the actual Carol Danvers, but it's really, really confusing. But obviously, Maria Rambeau is now Binary. They did drop Charles's name, so there is X-Men. There's Professor Xavier,
but which
and obviously
one?
Beast is there.
We've got the Patrick Stewart Beast, but are we going to get McAvoy? We got Patrick Stewart in multiverse.
There have been names for the X-Men. Giancarlo Esposito was one of them as Professor X. They were, I don't know if they're even entertaining this anymore, but another thought was to have Giancarlo Esposito as Professor X and Denzel Washington as Magneto. I don't think that that's going to be the case anymore for Denzel. I don't know if Giancarlo Esposito is still running.
Magneto's supposed to be a Jewish Holocaust victim.
Yeah, but they were thinking of bringing it up to like the 60s, like the Martin Luther King times, which I think would be a great spin.
So they make Malcolm X Magneto.
So something, yeah, pretty much, right?
Okay.
But the part of the reasoning as to why that should be the case, and I get it, the purists out there like, no, Holocaust victim is exactly how, or Holocaust survivor is how you need to have Magneto. That's just a big part of his character. If you do that, then he's like 100 years old, right? Like, I mean, it's you run into the logistical problems of, if they're from a certain time, then they're a certain age. So they could do that in alternate universes, but I don't know how they're going to make that happen in the MCU, or if they're just going to, kind of like wipe the slate clean of what happens with these characters.
Mutants age differently. Solved.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but then people will just be like, so what's the Holocaust again? Like that's how the world is now, right? Like history has gotten even smaller and shorter because we remember certain things,
But
but
is
not,
it a bad thing that people are aware of what the Holocaust is? So maybe we don't repeat those kind of atrocities as a world?
I'm
Like
not saying, I'm
not
not saying that
not
that's not right,
against
but
not against people having knowledge.
yeah,
God
but
forbid a Marvel
that's,
movie make people feel like they're not educated. Oh my
I'm,
God.
I'm curious to know like how many high school age kids know what the Holocaust is.
It
I'd
depends
be
on what
curious
state
to
they
know.
live in. It depends on what state they live in. I would be curious how many high school kids in Florida know what the Holocaust is.
I would say the same thing across the board across
I
the
would
across the
not.
US.
I would not, based on some of the Department of Education policies there. But this isn't a political podcast. This is a Marvel podcast. It is a fanboy podcast. And I need to know a fanboy question from you. We've talked about this movie. We've gone to depth. We've loved the after credits and the before credits. So Dan, can you do the Marvels all day?
Breaking it down category by category, the music wasn't there. And
Except
that's a
for
big
one
one for
song.
me,
There was one.
besides one song, right? Well, two songs, kind of. But I did like the overall theme. I thought that was good. It just didn't hit hard like it did for Captain Marvel. Even Captain Marvel's reappearance in Endgame, it just didn't, like I kind of missed that particular theme. So I'm gonna put like a minus mark next to the music.
Okay.
From the action and the CGI, I thought that was great. I had no problems with the CGI at all in this entire movie. Some people were thinking that the Beast scene was ridiculous. I was like, well, I got news for you. That was all CGI. It wasn't Kelsey Grammer and like 8 hours of makeup.
Yeah.
It was all CGI. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Looked good to me. It looked like my Beast. I just wish he was upside down. Action scenes were good, considering the fact that they had this little challenge, or maybe it worked to their advantage of switching places when they were using their powers. I liked it. I thought that was serviceable. Perfect amount of action for a comic book movie, and the different artsy parts of it, like the song and dance, the cat scene right there. I thought that was good too. But I will go on to say that with Kamala Khan, Monica, and Carol, the little trio of superstars that you have right there, Kamala was the glue, right? I think that she was the best part and very much needed of that three-person dynamic in order to keep them all together. Because you have a little bit of dissonance with Monica and Carol. I both like them. I both like the way that they portrayed their characters. I have a slight problem with how Brie Larson was just, in my opinion, so much of a difference of a character compared to Carol Danvers in the first Captain Marvel. Um, she was very emotional. She showed emotional range. I thought she acted it very well. I think their problem for me was the writing of how that was portrayed. They wrote it for Carol Danvers and Brie Larson, and Brie Larson did the acting to the best of her ability for what the scene dictated. But I just had an issue with the writing, I think, and they could have cleaned it up a little bit more. They could have made a better villain. The villain sucked, but it was just a fun movie. So when it all comes down to it, is it fun? Yes. Can I do it all day? I'd like to say yes, but I'm going to say no on this one. The reasoning as to why is because I don't think it's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I believe I did not do that one all day. I did like this movie. I thought it was very fun. I just can't wholeheartedly endorse it and say like you need to see this movie. You don't. You could skip this movie, and I think you'll be okay. So that is my answer.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
But I need to return the favor and ask you, can you do this all day?
I don't want to pile on negativity with this movie because I feel like it's a good movie. Like, it's not a bad movie. It is something you could turn on. It's entertaining. There's one scene that sticks out for me as something that I would be excited to rewatch again. You know, and there's parts of it that are good. I think this is something I'd show my kid, and if he got hooked on it and wanted to watch it all the time, I would not be mad about that. Right. But I think there are better movies with heavy repeat value. I'm gonna make my wife watch this because I'm excited. I would watch it again. You know, I'm not like, nope, don't turn it back on, never gonna happen. But it's also like, I don't know if it's something I'd seek out like I do, you know, First Avenger or Iron Man and stuff like that. But I think that's okay because I don't think this movie is for me. You know, I don't think that's who it's for. So that's why I can't do it all day, because I don't think this movie's for me. But I think it's good. And I think it is getting way more hate than it deserves. I think it is a strong Marvel movie. And I think I think that in general, the brand is better for having it. But we're getting to the point, and you said it, where our Marvel movies gonna start becoming things that if I didn't see this one, I'm gonna be able to watch the next one without missing a beat.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting point that you bring up. Like, do the Skrulls and Valkyrie bringing them over, does that have implications into Secret Invasion? Or what's the war? Secret War? Or whatever.
Secret War.
That they're talking about later, yeah. Does that have that level of implications? And if I didn't know why they got moved and why they have a hate for Carol Danvers, and now they're just done and they've disengaged with Fury, like, oh, you gave us Captain Marvel and none of that helped. Like, is this the explanation for why the Skrull movement gains, you know, back channel momentum? Like, is that part of the political aspect of it? You know, maybe, but can they fill that in with a line in the next movie and you didn't need to know about this? Like, I think that's a good point. And the counter question is that good or bad? That now they're going to stand alone. Did Marvel hear us, or not us, but hear the other people? Like, I can't go to a Marvel movie because I haven't seen the other 23. So now they're going to start producing things that both stand alone and add to the zeitgeist. You bring up a very good point, young man.
You did mention on a previous episode that you wanted like standalone Marvel movies, just well done. I think this is like a standalone Marvel movie that you could just be like, yep, that was a nice hour and a half ride.
That's okay. I like that from a superhero movie. I don't need, like, there was a good twist, there was some world building. Like, I was good with it. And that's
what was your twist in your opinion?
That Brie Larson's taking out of the AI is the reason. Okay. And that the targets, while they seem random and convenient, are actually specific to hurt Captain Marvel the most. Like, it wasn't just a plot against the universe, it was a plot against Carol.
Yeah, I don't even know if that was the case. I think they just were like,
she said it, like the nameless villain who is now dead and doesn't matter anymore said, I'm specifically going after you. This was to hurt you the most.
Oh, did she say that? I know.
And ruin everything you care about. the relationship with the Skrulls and that piece, the planet where she's the princess or the queen, and her home were the things that she was gonna. So her purpose, her partner, and her family was all what they were going to destroy.
There's a lot of things I chose to just not pay attention to just because I was like, I don't want to analyze this movie too much because I'm having a good time. I had a good time in it.
Yeah.
You know, so I will say that it's like if you are a Brie Larson or Captain Marvel fan, you should absolutely see it. But it's not my I can do this all day recommendation, unfortunately.
I think it's worth seeing. I just don't know that it's worth seeing ad nauseum like we do. Like it's not a multiple times in the theater movie, unless my wife wanted to go see it on the big screen. But you know, it's the first week it comes out, I'm gonna make her watch it on Disney Plus for sure. Like you're gonna enjoy this, sit down and watch it. And I would recommend it. Just not for me. On repeat. That's all. Well, stop hating this movie, internet. Stop hating it.
As the month of November comes to a close, so does our show. But until next time, this is Dan, the Part-Time Avenger. That's Mark, the Resident Jedi.
We'll see you next time, and there'll be merriment. Like, subscribe, comment. What's your favorite Christmas movie? It's almost Christmas.
See y'all next time.